Well, a loving situation, if we try to understand that instead of war and a hate situation, which is to focus on evil, let us focus on good for a moment. I find a great happiness in your company. The closer you are to me, the more happiness I find. You perhaps meet my need in some way for good company, and we can do things together that I couldn't do on my own. I love having you around. You ask of me something, I'm most willing to give it because you're such a blessing to me. There is love, not war and hatred, but love and peace and cooperation. Compare this now with, if you like, my relationship to, let us say, the ants. The ants are not in an obvious danger to me, but I don't want them teeming all over my house. They're not a great blessing to me. It's not that I'm much happier when they're close to me. So I would like them to stay out. I can't keep them out, perhaps. And so my solution might be to use poison to kill them. Do you see, we are at war. It's a war that I'm at present still dominant on. I can keep them out. Is this a good state of affairs? Well, not from the ants' point of view. If they can find ways of getting in, apparently there's an environment here that they would prefer to take. And they will. Is there a solution to this conflict? The present solution is that we harm anything that comes in, and that either kills them so they can't come in, or discourages them from attempting to come in, because it's a hell of a place. If you go in there, you get killed. Is there a preferred situation? Yes, the ants don't come in, but live happily outside. I don't mind them living in the forest and the garden. But of course I take their forest and garden from them and concrete here and build more houses there and cut down the forest and turn it into a field where the ants don't have such a good environment to live in. Perhaps they do, and perhaps they can in the hedgerows, but then I take the hedgerows out. So their life form is being constrained greatly by my progress, as I see it. Is this good or bad? From my point of view, well, it's good because I'm not concerned about there being, well, I don't appreciate large populations of ants even existing. Is it good from their point of view? No, their race dies out and their form of living is not ongoing. Is this a bad situation? Not from my narrow point of view. From theirs, yes. What if I empathize with the ants? Oh, then it's a terrible evil. They're suffering. They're being destroyed, and this is not a happy situation. I'm willing to surrender some of my other gains in order that they may gain some existence, providing I can contain it, of course. I don't wish to be destroyed any more than they wish to be destroyed. Is this a sin of self? No, not really. I mean, It was their concern for self that I could empathise with, and that's what's making me want to meet their need, because that's of relevance to me. I'm concerned that they're unhappy and suffering and dying. I would be obviously concerned about myself suffering and dying too. So I'm not willing to give all. What is love then? It is an adjustment of the balance, that I have much and they have little. I'd like to give some because I'm concerned about their welfare. This is what we call being noble. Not noble in the sense of exploiting, but noble in the sense of sharing some of our success with those that don't have it. I don't wish to give all my success to those that don't have it. So I seem to start at any one time. If we look at the current situation, there are inequalities. The more I empathise with those that are suffering compared to me, the more I wish to allocate some of my benefit to them. And of course, the more they appreciate me. And they will want to give back. It's a spontaneous thing to bless, to thank, to encourage me to do more. Yes, I'd like to be a benefit to them. I don't like being a cost to them. So I try to find ways of not being a cost to them, without being too costly to me, because I'm already in an inferior benefit situation, perhaps. Those that have shifted to being more compassionate towards those that have little may find there's a surprising benefit in this, in that, if you like, the ants now agree not to come into your house. Oh, well, I certainly don't need to wipe them out in that case. And there's a request from them not to destroy their garden or their wood or their hedgerows where they live. Oh, right. Yes, well, that's not too big a cost. Yes. Oh, yes, this is good. So, if we respect each other's needs and we appreciate each other's giving, we move towards a much better harmony and prosperity. In other words, I can make my enemy my friend. But if I give and he doesn't give in return, well, we don't get very far. We have a slight adjustment, but not as much as if in gratitude they give what costs them little and is significant to me back. If they give back what costs them a little but is of significance to me. So as monarch, I find the poor wave and cheer when I go down the road, and are so pleased to see me. I care for my poor. Their housing is terrible. What can I do about this? Can I help them with so-and-so, which won't cost me too much, but will be tremendous value to them? Do you see? Some people are not grateful, so they don't respond. So there's a failure of cooperation. In other words, what I'm saying really is, not so much do we value love, but do we value cooperation? Yes, cooperation by definition means all the situations where each gives and all are, in some sense, benefited overall by such. That's a wonderful situation. You give to the family and I give to the family. And the family prospers. Oh, that's good. Do you see? Can we do that as a society? You know, when I realize India has resources that I want, and I'm Britain, I'm Britain, okay? I come and I say, and what can I do to bless you? Well, you could do with a transport system. You could do with water supply. You could do with proper sanitation. I can provide that relatively cheaply because I have an abundance of capital and technology. You have incredibly cheap labor. Would you be willing to sell us your bananas? Well, it's good having you around. We certainly like the prosperity of having your railway company here because it gives us employment and so on. So yes, okay. Now, does this mean that my moving into your society end up with me owning your land and exploiting you? Or does it end up with me owning your capital and employing you? If I own your land, I may be taking more of the joint benefit than is reasonable. And you feel you're having a bad deal from this. In fact, you feel you were better off overall before I came. Oh, well, that's a disaster. Yes, we suffer from famines that we didn't suffer from before. Oh, that's bad news. So we do have the answer to international peace. It is trade, and it's not exploitation. Exploitation is where I end up taking your ability to benefit from the gain. Whereas if my presence is a gain to you, and a gain to me, then we do well. And that's in some sense the idea behind good free trade. Bad free trade is where the British come and they bring their army and own and exploit and take more somehow than we've gained, and we're the poorer. You don't let us make our own manufactures. We have now less material and clothing than we had before. We're poorer because you're here. Oh dear. A few of our own rich are actually better off for you being here because they've become richer and they keep the door open for you to be here. Oh, we destroy our rich then. We rebel. It might be seen that the enemy is our rich or is the foreigner. We rebel against our own system if we think it's our own rich. We destroy the government, the rulership. And that may bring so much chaos that the external power comes in and prefers the previous situation where we had a corrupt leader. That's not right. We may just rebel against the foreigner and try and keep him out. But he in the short run cuts off our resources so much that this throws our country into total disarray. And there's rebellion against us, the leaders, personally.
I used to lecture at uni on the failures of the market. And things like the failure of collective action and the need for Pareto improvements where no one actually loses by a transaction. Both sides or all sides gain, including third parties. If there are negative externalities to third parties, then in principle you would think there should be compensation for such at least. Adequate, full compensation. And it might be fairly arbitrary as to what that is, I agree. We can't measure benefits. We can measure things in terms of cash, but the cash is not a reliable indication of welfare and happiness. We're in a dilemma. You won't solve this dilemma except there be understanding and compassion. And you may not have that unless your own welfare is being threatened at present by their discontent. You can crush some discontent with force, but there's no way you have enough resources and police to crush global discontent, if you like, within your society. You rely, in fact, on the failure of collective action on their part to achieve what they need. The cause of the inability to solve the problem lies in our lack of compassion, love, and understanding. You need to find ways of encouraging such to avoid the unhappiness in the world. It's as simple as that. I know I'm not telling you anything new here, only to remind us of the stark reality that we're not remotely as loving and caring as we could be, and in consequence, we personally are nothing like as happy and fulfilled and loved as we could be too. Thank you, Dad, that we remain here in this universe until we learn otherwise. To care for others as we care for ourselves. Or should I say, as we should be caring for ourselves, were we enlightened enough to realize it? Thank you, Dad.